Before closing out the last video, I gave you a brief introduction to the Nano text editor. Nano is quick and easy to use, but in my opinion it lacks certain features that may be good for your overall productivity, and there is an alternative I want to show you, which is the Vim text editor. However, Vim is a little tricky to use at first, and it operates in a completely different kind of logic for editing text than what you might be used to. So in this video, I want to give you a proper introduction to Vim and explain the concepts behind it. When you first open up Vim, you may quickly realize that you can't just simply type text as you would in a normal text editor. That is because Vim operates on this concept of modes. When you open up Vim, you are in normal mode, which means that you can navigate files and you can issue commands with keystrokes. Then there are ways to enter insert modes, which is where you do all of the typing. And then there are things like visual mode, where you can select things, to name just a few prominent examples. These are the three modes you're going to be using the most. Vim is entirely keyboard controlled, which means that it is designed without a mouse in mind. You can do everything in Vim from the keyboard, and it is actually designed so that your fingers don't have to leave the home row position on the keyboard, so you barely have to move your hands when you're using it. And the commands that you use to edit text in Vim are actually composed of keystrokes. A command is not just a keyword followed by maybe some arguments, but it is rather a collection of different kinds of keystrokes. For example, you have some keystrokes that represent motions, which will move your cursor somewhere. For example, the W key will move you forward one word. The J key will take you down one line, and the AP keys together will move you through a paragraph. Then there are operators, for example, delete, change, or yank, which means you take text into a register and paste it somewhere else later. And these are things that you can combine together with counts. So to give an example, if I wanted to delete a word, the motion is word, the operator is delete, and the count is 1. I want to delete one word. Let's look at some more examples of this. On the left-hand side here, I have given the example D2W. So here the operator is delete, and the motion is word, because I want to delete a word, and the count is 2, because I want to delete 2 words. In Vim, in normal mode, the keystrokes are D2W for delete 2 words. Then you have another example, which is the change operator, which deletes whatever you have selected and then puts you into insert mode so that you can replace it. For example, you can change what is inside a pair of double quotes. Let's say that you have a sentence enclosed in a pair of double quotes. You can select that sentence with your cursor and then press CI quotes, and it will let you change the text inside of those quotes. Vim may seem very daunting at first, and there is not enough time in this video for me to go over every neat trick that you can use to boost your productivity. What I want to do in this video is just explain the sort of design philosophy behind Vim and how you can think about it and reason about it so that you can learn more in your free time. So, without further ado, let's open up a terminal in our Linux installation and start Vim. You can start Vim just like you do with any other program by just typing the name. For this example, I'm just going to go into the sandbox folder that I created in the last video. CD sandbox. And here you can see I have two files, text file 1 and text file 2. You can open Vim by just typing the name, Vim, or you can give it an argument. I'm going to begin by just typing Vim. When you open Vim, you'll be greeted with this screen. And if you just start typing things on the keyboard, you'll quickly realize it doesn't behave the way you probably expect it to. That's because you are currently in normal mode. And to enter insert mode and just start typing things, there are a few ways you can do that. The most common basic way to enter insert mode is to just press I. You will see the little prompt at the bottom of the screen here that says insert. This indicator shows which mode you are currently in. Now if you start typing, you'll see some text here. I want to type some text. There you go. And then to exit insert mode, you press escape. So that's how you insert text. Now to move around this text and to do things with it, you could use the arrow keys. However, I don't recommend that you do that, and I think it is generally a bad habit to get into. Vim's control scheme is designed so that you don't have to move your hands off of the home row, and so the keys to navigate in Vim are H, J, K, and L. But to demonstrate this better, I can just show you now on this text. H is to go to the left, and L is to go to the right. I know it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but once you get this into muscle memory, it is a lot faster. But then you may want to insert another row of text or below this one that you're currently on. You could go all the way to the end of this line by holding L, then pressing I, and then pressing Enter. But luckily, Vim has a few more shortcuts to go into insert mode in specific locations to make all of this faster. So first you can just press O, which will open up a new line below the one you are in, and then you can start typing. Here is a new line. And then when I'm done inserting text, I can press Escape. And here you can press J and K to move up and down. Give this some practice. Type in some more text to move up and down and left and right, and just try to get a feel for it. Now, if you want to create a new line above the one you are currently on, you can press Shift-O. Like that. But let's say that you wanted to enter or insert some text at the beginning or the end of the line that you are currently on. You could go all the way back here and then press I, or you could go all the way over here and press I, but that would be tedious. Luckily, you have the Shift A and the Shift I commands. If you type Shift A, you can think of that as append. So you append to the end of the line. More text here. And if you wanted to insert at the beginning of the line, you press Shift I. Those are the basics of just inserting text in Vim. Knowing these basic commands will already help you just editing text in Vim, but it's not really that fast or comfortable to use. To move around faster, you can use some of these motions I talked about, and you can later combine those with operators like I'm going to show you. So for example, if I wanted to move through this line to a specific word, of course I could just hold in L and go all the way to where I want to go. Or, if you can press 0 to go back to the beginning of the line. Or you can use a motion. In this example, I'm going to show you W, which stands for word. So you press W, and it jumps forward one word. If you press B, it jumps back one word. But you can go even faster than this. You can search in a file by using slash. So let's say I wanted to get down to the word line here. I could just, jump down with J and then use W to go there, or I could just type in slash, and you'll get this little prompt at the bottom here. Type in line, and it will take you there. Once you have entered a search term, you can press N to jump between the occurrences of that pattern, or you can use Shift N to go backwards. Now I only have 2 words to show you here, so it doesn't really highlight that functionality, but feel free to play around with it. You can also search backwards by using the question mark. So let's say that I'm standing on this bottom line here and I want to look for the word text, which I know is up top. Text, like that. These are some very basic motions that you should know. Let's combine these with operators to see the real power of Vim at play. For example, let's say I wanted to change the word this. I could use DW, which means delete word, and then, start entering insert mode, like here. Or, if you press U to undo, you can press CW, which means change word. This will delete whatever your motion selects, and then enter insert mode. So CW, like that. But if you wanted to change an entire sentence, you could do this by using visual mode. So if I press V to enter visual, you can go all the way over here. Or if you wanted to make this even faster, you can press F dot, which stands for find, and then whichever character you type in. And you can press D to delete all of that. To just delete a single character, you can use X, like this. And here we get to the interesting third component of these commands, which is the count. So, for example, let's say I wanted to delete these two words here. I could just type DW and DW, or you can type D2W, which will delete two words. Now, I know I'm going through these things very quickly now, and you might be thinking to yourself, how will I keep all of these things in mind? The trick is not to memorize every possible combination of commands, but rather to learn the principle of how these commands are created. You use a operator, such as delete or change, and then you use a motion, such as word or back or up and down with J and K, and then you can optionally add a count to do that several times. To demonstrate this on a motion, for example, J, if I wanted to go 2 lines to the top, I could press KK, or you can type 2K, which will just repeat that keystroke 2 times. Now to combine this with an operator again, for example, I wanted to delete 2 lines, you can press DJ, which will delete those 2 lines because that's where my cursor goes over. There are also a few more shorthands for working on single lines. For example, DD will delete a line, and CC will change the entire line. Now don't worry if you feel that all of these concepts are going over your head and you're not sure how to memorize them. Vim has a built-in tutorial that will help you memorize these things and just practice in general. Before I show you that though, I just want to show you the last of the basic functionality to work with files. So now that I opened Vim without providing a file name, it just opens up an empty buffer. It loads up some text in memory, but it is not yet a file on the system. To issue commands to write and save or load files, you can press colon. If you press colon, it will open up this little command prompt down in the corner. This will allow you to issue Vim-specific commands, for example, write or edit, or you can even use some of these operators that I showed you now, such as D, to delete a line. The most common examples you're going to use is write, or just W for short, and then a file name. So I type that in, and I type my file, like that. It will now write a file to disk called my file with the contents that I'm currently displaying here. And if you just want to quit out of Vim, you can use :Q. However, if you haven't saved your changes yet, it will ask you to write them first. You could either use WQ to write then quit, or you can just use Q exclamation point, which will say, I want to quit without saving changes. But for now, we've saved those changes, so we can just quit out. If you want to just repeat some of these things, you can either look back at the video before this point and practice some of these commands, or you could use a built-in tool called Vimtutor. You issue that from your command line, and it will open up a text file in Vim which contains structured tutorials on navigation, basic editing, and all of those things. You could look through that if you want. I personally found it very helpful for general repetition until you get comfortable with it. But I'm not going to show you all of the Vimtutor, so I'm just going to quit out of it with :Q. And let's look again at these files we have. I'm going to open up one of them called text file 1 and show you some other neat tricks. Open Vim, text file 1, and then if you remember from the bash video, you can use tab to autocomplete. And here it displays the contents of that file. Now what has actually happened is that Vim has loaded a copy of those files' contents into memory. The file will not actually be written to disk with the changes I've made until I issue the write command. Just something to keep in mind. But let's go all the way to the top over here and see that here's some text for me to work on. Let's say that I wanted to change this line and put it at the top. When you delete something in Vim, it goes into something called a register, which is a piece of memory that contains text that you've deleted or yanked with the Y command. If I were to delete this line with DD, I could now put it somewhere else with the P command for put. If you just press P, it will delete it one line below. If you press capital P, it will put it up top. And I see at the end of this line I've forgotten to add a dot. So I can press Shift A, dot, and then escape. And to show you how you can use these commands and reuse them, I've written some basic C code down here. Now, for those programmers who know a bit of basic C, you need to end every statement with a semicolon, which I have not done here. A good way to fix this would be to use Shift A to go to the end of the line, add a semicolon. And then, of course, you could do this to all of these other lines with Shift A, add a semicolon, escape. But if you have a lot of lines to work on, that could be tedious. But we could do this a bit faster. I'm going to press 0 to go to the beginning of the line. And I issue that command A, or capital A, semicolon. This counts as a command. And there is a key in Vim to repeat the last command that you just did, which is dot. So if I go to this point here, and press dot, it will repeat that command. Down here as well, dot. Easy. But you can do this even faster. I'm still not satisfied. So you press U, go to the beginning of the line. And let's say that I wanted to select both of these lines with visual line mode. So if you remember, visual mode is just V. Shift V is visual line mode, which will let you select entire lines. Now, if I enter command mode from here, you see this strange little prompt, which basically means that the following command will be issued on your selection. Here you can type normal, and then the keystrokes that you want to issue, which is capital A, semicolon, like that. And then it will add the semicolon to the end of every line. Now I don't want this one over here, so I can just press X. At this point in the video, I kind of have to stop myself a little bit, because there are so many great tricks in Vim and customization options for you to use that I wish I could show you. But Vim is a bit of a skill that you have to learn. There is not enough time for me to show you everything in this video. But before closing it out, I just want to show one more important command, which is the edit command. When you open up Vim, the folder that you are currently in will be your workspace of a kind. If you type in :E and then press tab, it will show you all of the files that are in this current workspace. So if you wanted to open up another file, for example textfile2.txt, no write since last change. Alright, let's write the changes first, then E, go over to that file. But what happened to that other file now? If you type ls, which is not a bash command now, it is actually a command inside of Vim, it will show you all of the current buffers you have open. To change to another buffer, you can type the name of it with B1, for example, for buffer 1, B2 for buffer 2, like that, or BN for buffer next, or BP for buffer previous. But I think that will have to cover it for this video. In the description, I will link some more learning resources, and I will also show you Vim customization in another video later on. But getting comfortable with these basic tricks will already get you up and running to be quite productive. And once you get this into muscle memory, any other editor will start to feel kind of strange. But I will leave the rest to you to explore, and I hope you have found this video helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.